In June, the independent documentary The Victims of Jakub Jahl in Africa premiered. It brought together testimonies from survivors, former colleagues, and local witnesses, revealing allegations against the Czech citizen Jakub Jahl, who, according to testimonies, abused orphans and homeless children in Tanzania, gave them drugs, and exploited his position under the guise of charity. The film caused a strong reaction, both in Tanzania and abroad, and raised many new questions that remained unanswered. As I followed the public debate, I realized how much was still unclear. Who were the children behind these stories? What happened to the people who had tried to stop him? And why had local institutions failed to act? These questions convinced me that the story needed further investigation on the ground. That is why I decided to travel to Tanzania and make this film. My name is Assem Zhapisheva. I am a journalist, screenwriter, and a media producer. For more than 15 years, I've told stories about human rights and justice. But nothing prepared me for what I found here in Tanzania. Together with my team, we interviewed survivors, former colleagues, neighbors, and local officials. We checked documents, cross-referenced testimonies, and followed the trail of money. Our goal was simple: to fact-check what had been said and to uncover what had been left out. And what we discovered was far worse than what was already public. This is not just a story of abuse. Witnesses describe how Jahl built an entire empire with drugs, street gangs, threats, and fear at its core. For 5 years, he collected tens of thousands of dollars from Czechs and other Europeans for charity, showing photos of smiling children, mostly orphans and homeless kids. While behind closed doors, according to testimonies from the children, he was subjecting them to sexualized violence, perversions, giving them narcotics, and silencing anyone who spoke out. We traced his steps across those 5 years, building a full timeline of his crimes, including incidents that had never been reported before. This is not only about one man's crimes. It is about how fear, silence, and power protected him for years. If you think you already know this story, you don't. What we uncovered is darker than anything shown before. Who is Jakub Jahl? Born in 1989, a Czech citizen, former Mormon, theology student, and anti-cult activist, he built himself a reputation as a humanitarian and volunteer, and he said he was battling cults. In 2019, he appeared in Tanzania. Together with his partner Lenka and their friend Martin, he settled in Moshi, claiming to be a benefactor. He told local residents he had raised money to help orphan children.
When he met with him, he's the one also got the information from him that he want to work with orphanage and something like that. Also, he's printing the pictures for the tourists. So Joseph decided to also introduce him to Bob and Ramadhani at Nature and Skills Center. And everything happened there.
The Nature and Skills Center, a small community shelter near Moshi that offered orphans and vulnerable children food, education, and basic vocational training. Bob had already been working there for several years before Jakub appeared.
Before it was a very good center. We built all the environment to be good and quiet for the kids. So here it was a goat house. It was a goat house before. We built here the house for the goats, and we bought 4 goats.
Can you just tell us about the first time when you met Jakub here?
The first time I met Jakub from Joseph. So you guys please welcome me here. I'm here from Czechoslovakia. I want to help the kids. Yes, very polite language, very kindly. Yes. So we welcome him here. And we start to work with him. Right now, their sign is not here, but yes, the pirates were over there. Yes, he was going and find a painter, and the painter is just coming here.
So you worked with Jakub for 3 years, right?
Yes, more than 3 years. Yes, but what I want to talk, the conflict, where the conflict was starting, it is after discovering that Jakub, he is not here to help the kids, but he have his own mission to the kids.
I met Jacob here. He came to start a shelter, a center for children to help kids. At first, he seemed like a good person, but then he started doing very bad things, things we didn't expect.
At the center, disturbing stories soon emerged. Witnesses recall how Jahl brought boys from Dar es Salaam, including Abdul and Exodi, and presented himself as their benefactor. But within months, teachers and staff noticed troubling behavior. Abdul, still a child, began imitating sexual advances until he finally confessed that it was Jahl who had taught him these things.
One of the teachers from the school, he just calling us and said that Abdul is very young boy, but he was trying to approach his teacher. Just so, teacher, I love you. I need to be there. Yes. We go to the school. We listen to the teacher and say, "Oh no, this one can't happen." But later on, the teacher called us again. That's Abdul. He used to rape his friends. We said no. Thirdly time, fourthly time, there is where we're starting to look forward for Abdul, and he said the truth. That's Jacob. He was teaching me this one. Where did Jacob start to teach you this? Oh, from the Islam teacher, because he used to do that sex with the same boys, the boys, yes, and sometimes the ladies, yes.
How old were the boys?
How old are the boys? It was like he was around maybe 13. Later on, we started to talk with Exaudi. Exaudi, he was telling us
the kid, the second kid.
The second kid. He was telling us the same shit. He used to force him. That's kissing, touching your buttocks. It's a normal things. And me and you, we can sleep without clothes. No, without clothes, we can play at the same bed.
Staff and guardians began noticing Jahl's disturbing behavior, heavy marijuana use, a temper, and disturbing behavior around children.
We realized Jakub was bad when we saw him bringing different drugs and mixing them into the food. He tried to convince us they were vitamins, but it was very suspicious. Many children got sick after eating and vomited a lot, so we started cooking our own food.
According to witnesses, he misused donor funds to buy Mira, Kat, other drugs, and pay boys for sex. Reports also describe that Jakub raped, sodomized, and abused children at the center. A cycle of lies and wrongdoings developed. Jahl kept taking advantage of donors by posting fake photos of starving children on social media, while the money he raised was either kept for himself or spent on drugs.
But even if you donate just 100 or 200 crowns, as some people do if everyone made such a contribution, and euros are fine too. Even 5 euros is great. But of course, 50 is even better.
Witnesses report that Jahl injected children with drugs, beat and raped them, and locked himself in rooms with boys Abdul and Exodi. Children said he calmed himself by injecting drugs and showed violence when they rebelled. According to witnesses, after the management of the Nature and Skills Center discovered that Jakub Jahl was sexually abusing children, they confronted him and asked him to leave. This led to a serious conflict. In retaliation, Jahl allegedly returned with a group of hired local gangsters, looted the center, and left it destroyed.
Yes, the conflict was starting like this. After talking to Jacob with us, you are doing this and this and this to our kids. And this one is not good to our kids. He said that this one is the normal things. No time to complain about these guys. Let us look forward for the kids. Oh, no, we can't continue with this one. Yes, he said no. Let us look forward for the center. He was starting some mission to take the kids to the swimming pool, and sometimes they want we as the leaders of the center to go with them. One day I was going with him, and he was trying to tell all the boys and ladies to change the clothes in one room. By that time, I think that like 3 minutes, I was left like 3 minutes to go and pay for the swimming pool. When I come back, I meet Jacobo. He's just touching some little kids and taking their clothes out and say that, Jacobo, these not good things. Jacobo, he was starting to complain with me first. Before he complained with our chairman called Ramadan Jah. You can look on the Facebook, and he was the one Jacobo, he was using to send the money to him every time when there is a problem. Yes. So from there, Jacobo, he tell Ramadan to kick me out from the center. But I used to sit down with Ramadan and tell him that this guy is not a good guy. Later on, he came to Ramadan, and Ramadan, he came to me and tell me that this guy, he want to do this homosexual in our center. So the guys who coming to destroy here was taken by Jacobo, by paid. So it was a mission. Actually, the gate was closed, but there was passing away. There was jumping from there, from the measurement, and coming inside and doing what they want.
What did they do exactly?
They punish people. They took each and everything. Yes, mattress, goats, chickens, saw machines, laptops, photocopy machines, but they didn't end over there. They was going also to the chairman called the Ramadan Jah house, broken the door, enter in his house, taking everything which they want.
When Jakub came here with his big gang that day, they started to destroy everything.
People wakajaa wengi sana, wakachukua vile vitu, wakaanza kuokota vitu, kuku, mbuzi.
They dragged our things out into the street.
Magodoro, watu wakachukua
beds, mattresses, laptops, even our chickens.
Wakaondoka na mbwa na mbuzi. Wakapita hivi.
Then they took our dogs and goats.
Wakaishia. Kwa hiyo vitu vingi,
many items were taken.
kitanda, magodoro, laptop, nini walivitupa.
They put everything into cars and drove away. Jakub harmed us badly by destroying the center. Before that, we had sponsors who supported the center and launched different projects. We together could take care of the center and the children. But now that the center is destroyed, we don't even have work.
Maybe you can understand how to call Jacob. Jacob is an evil. Yes, he's not a human. He's not allowed to be in this world. And if you are his country, will not believe on what we are telling about Jacob. This Jacob, he gonna do these things, even in his country, or maybe he will shift because Africa is so big, Africa is poor, a lot of place.
After gangsters destroyed the Nature and Skills Center, it closed down. 2 boys Jakub Jahl had brought there, Abdul and Exodi, went missing. According to testimonies, Jahl continued to abuse children, but now in the house he rented, here in Moshi. One of the victims, Violet, is 17 now and works in a local restaurant. She grew up in a poor family on the slopes of Kilimanjaro and always dreamed of getting an education. When she was 13, a foreigner named Jakub Jahl came into her life. Violet remembers that moment clearly. When she met Jahl, she was already an orphan and living with a woman who was taking care of her at that time. She describes how he promised to take her with him, pay for her education, and provide everything she needed.
Violet was a child who lived on the streets in the Majengo area. I first met her there when she was very tired. She was a girl from a poor family. I saw her from time to time. She said, "Brother, maybe you could find someone who could help us." That's how I came to know this girl named Violet. She went to that house because of Jakub. He promised her a good education and food, and that he would help with basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. Violet believed she would get that help, and that's how she met Jakub. He also promised she could go to school. Violet dreamed of studying and doing good things when she grew up.
Juana na Jacob kwa sababu aliahidiwa shule na Violet alikuwa anatamani sana kuweza kusoma na alikuwa anatamani kuweza kufanya mambo mazuri akiwa mkubwa.
Jakub brought Violet to his house. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. On the first day, he did nothing. I slept well and I woke up fine, she says. She waited patiently for him to enroll her in school. But the promised school never became a reality. He had said he would take her to a better private school, but she soon realized he hadn't even begun the process.
When I met him, I was 13. When I was living at home with my mother, we were in poverty. He promised to take me with him, send me to school, and pay for everything. He took me to his place. Later, he began to treat me cruelly. He did terrible things to me. When he realized I was a virgin, that I had never been with any man, he raped me and also sodomized me, anally raped. I studied at a day school, so I went to classes and came home each day. One day, when I returned from school and got home, I found a man named Jakub talking to my mother. I hadn't known him before. My mother, who is no longer with us now, agreed with what he was saying, and they called me in. When they called me in, my mother said, "You won't go to the regular public school anymore. You'll go to a better school. This man from Europe has come to help you. So, my daughter, starting tomorrow, you will no longer attend that school." I answered, "Yes, Mama." She added, "Tomorrow you will go to your school and collect the transfer papers so you can move to the other school." Because I wasn't in the classes that were preparing for the national exams, we went to collect the transfer papers, and the next day, I didn't return to the regular public school. After we got the transfer documents, he spoke to my mother again and said he wanted to take me to live with him at the place he had rented. That's why he took me. When he brought me to his home, he did nothing on the first day, nothing on the second day, but on the third day he began to change. That's when he gave me a soda, but he had put drugs in it. When I drank soda or water, I felt dizzy, and my forehead burned intensely. Right then, I started to drift off, slumping and falling asleep. I couldn't walk from one place to another. I just lay down right there and couldn't wake up. When I fell down, I lost consciousness and couldn't even open my eyes. Later, when I woke up, I found I was already in his room, completely naked on his bed, and there was no one else in the room.
So you woke up after he gave you something, you fell asleep, woke up naked on his bed. He was gone. Did you feel any pain? Did you, felt something violated?
Yes. After he did this to me and left the room, he locked all the doors in the house. And I stayed inside for an entire day without being able to get out. I was alone the whole time.
Just to clarify, you were locked in the house. You couldn't leave.
Yes, I couldn't get out. He locked the inner room where I was and also locked the outer door. Even if I managed to get out of the inner room, the outer door was still shut, and even if I tried to scream or make noise so someone could hear me, no one outside could hear because the doors were locked and it was hard for anyone far away to notice.
When he appeared again?
The next day, after I realized he was playing with me, I decided not to drink anything at all. I told myself, today I won't drink anything, and I only ate some food and went to sleep. That was the day he cut me. He came into my room and I saw him clearly because I was fully conscious since I hadn't drunk anything, not even water. Oh, Jesus. I was naked. I was on the bed in a nightdress. When I saw him, I was shocked. He was already on me. He used force and started assaulting me violently. That's when he cut me, below the shoulder and on my leg. Now the scar on my leg is better, but at first it was still very painful. When I touched it, it hurt. He had chopped my leg with a knife deeply and the inner flesh was exposed. And the inner flesh came out, and then he forced himself on me and raped me. I tried to push him away and escape. But he was holding a knife in his hand, which is how he cut me. Now it's better because the scar below my shoulder is faded. There used to be a mark right here. Later this scar has faded. But the scars on my head and leg haven't disappeared.
How deep were the cuts?
He was holding the knife like this, down like this. So he cut me like this, and cut on the hand again. The deepest wound was on my leg. That's where he chopped me much more severely than anywhere else. It was like these two knives, and the handle of the knife was brown.
Just like that, Jakub did terrible things to me. I feel like they should put him in jail for the rest of his life, and he could die there in prison.
He chopped my leg very badly, and I was limping, walking with great difficulty as I ran to the neighbor, a woman we call Mama. Thankfully, that night the doors weren't locked. My room door wasn't locked. When I ran there, I knocked on the door, but they were already asleep. I kept knocking, and the woman asked who I was. I said, "Please, can you open the door?" When she opened it, I begged, "Please, Mama, can you help me? Someone raped me. I can't walk now, it's nighttime, and I'm a girl. I ran to you because I know you. Please help me." She accepted me, took me in, and protected me, and I slept with her children that night. When she came in the morning, I told her, "Mama, I got some problem. The white man, Jakub, the one I was living with, tried to kill me. He has already raped me and also sodomized me. He anally raped me." I could barely get out of bed as I spoke to her, and I begged, "Please help me."
My name is Hildegard Rosso. Violet was my neighbor.
How do you know Violet?
It was at night between 10 and 11 o'clock when she came running to me, knocking on the door and screaming.
What happened that night? From the start to the end, everything.
She was calling for help. She was screaming that she had been beaten. She had bruises and cuts. And when I asked, "What happened to you?"
michubuko na sehemu kama amekatwa na alikuwa anaomba msaada. Kufungua mlango.
She answered that night Jakub had given her something to drink and then raped her. Then she was able to break free and run here to this house.
Anasema kwamba alinyweshwa kama alinyweshwa kitu akawa kama hayuko haelewi kitu kinachoendelea. Na kumbe alikuwa anataka kufanywa kitu kibaya.
It seemed she had been poisoned because she started vomiting substances, including things that looked like medicine she couldn't identify.
Kwa sasa katika kuja kwangu ndo akasema, yani akawa hajui kilichofanyika, kumbe tayari ameshabakwa. Alipokuja vile, si mtu ukimwona mtu anatoka damu nini, cha kwanza unamsaidia, nikaona nimsaidie kule kwenye majeraha.
When she came with those injuries, the first thing I did is help her. I decided to first help with the injuries on her genitals. I treated the injuries on her body. I gave her painkiller, and she was crying from how she felt. I told her to rest until tomorrow, and then I spoke with her. I advised her to tell a relative or another trusted adult so she could report what happened to the police. I didn't inform the police because I'm just an ordinary person and I had morning duties and needed to go to work. What I did was advise her, if she has no parents, she should tell someone close to her, or she can go to the local leader and report it so they can help her. That way, the matter can be handled and the police can be involved.
We'll never forget that night. It will stay with me for the rest of my life because it was truly terrifying. I remember sleeping in the living room while Violet was in her room. When Jakub came back, I was already asleep. He went into Violet's room. After a short while, I heard Violet's voice sounding wrong. She was crying and screaming loudly, "Let me go." She kept screaming, and I got up and went to the door. I heard Jakub said, "I'll cut you with a knife. Be quiet. Don't scream." I tried to push the door or bang on it, but it was locked. The screaming continued from inside. I was terrified because I didn't understand what was happening. Later, I realized Jakub was raping Violet. She was just a child. She was 11 or 12 years old.
Jacobo alikuwa anambaka Violet ambaye ni binti mdogo sana, alikuwa na umri kama wa miaka 12 au 11 kipindi hicho. Jacobo alimbaka.
Knowing that he raped a child that night caused me unbearable pain.
Sana siku hiyo.
Unfortunately, Violet wasn't the only child who suffered from Jakub's actions. Witnesses name at least 9 to 12 children that he raped. The modus operandi was the same as with Violet. He slipped them drugs, put them to sleep, and acted. In addition, according to testimony, he gave the children other drugs, including hormonal ones. Other statements paint a chilling picture. Jahl would mix sedatives into food and drinks, inject boys with syringes, hand them marijuana and other drugs, and even bring hormonal substances from abroad to give them to his children. According to multiple sources, he carried this out both in his own house and in the so-called new shelter. Witnesses claim that after Jakub destroyed the Nature and Skills Center, he fled. He told donors and neighbors that he has opening a second shelter with several caregivers. However, this house was never officially registered as a shelter or a children's assistance center. Jahl simply brought various children to his house and continued to abuse and rape them behind the closed doors.
I remember and saw several children that he brought there. There was a boy named Juma, a boy named Evans, and a boy named Imrani. There were more than 7 or 8 children at different times.
Wakiwa wameshalewa madawa, akiwa anawafanyia vitendo vibaya. Na pia kwa mara ya kwanza nilikuja kumuona Jakub akiwa anatumia bangi, akiwa anatumia madawa pia mbele za watoto. Alikuwa akileta watoto na alikuwa akifanya sherehe pale.
And he held parties there.
Wabaka watoto.
He committed acts of violence against the children.
Vitendo vya ukatili.
He committed rapes.
Wabaka kama mtoto mmoja anaitwa Juma.
For example, with one child named Juma.
Anampenda sana kukaa naye karibu.
Another one he really liked to keep close to him all the time.
Awafanyie vizuri, alikuwa na walawiti
watoto. He did terrible things to them.
Kuwafanyia vitendo ambavyo vibaya.
He anally raped those children and did other harmful things to them.
Wakapika chakula.
One day he brought them there and he prepared food with drugs, but he gave the children these substances by mixing them possibly into soda or by adding them to a sauce. And after he raped them and committed other harmful acts against them.
Ali's son was only 3 years old when he spent 6 months at Nature and Skills Center. What should have been a safe place changed his life forever.
I have a son and I took him to a center called Nature and Skills. At first when I brought him there he was very happy. But after a short time they called me and told me I needed to come get my son because the center was closed. When I went to pick him up he wasn't happy anymore. I asked him, why aren't you happy? But he didn't answer. So I took him home and stayed with him. Later, I decided to take him out somewhere so we could sit together and talk. I talked to him. That's when he started telling me, Daddy, you know, at the center there was a white man named Jakub. He came and took me and my friend into the same room. When he took us into the room, he held a knife to my head and said to me, shit in my mouth. So I shit in his mouth, and when I did, he was very happy. Then he quickly grabbed my friend Abili. That shocked me. I ran out fast. As I ran out, I heard my friend screaming in that room. It really scared me. My son told me, Daddy, that made me very afraid. He also said, I thought when he took me there, I would be happy. I didn't know this white man, Jakub, would do something like that. I asked my son, did he do anything to you? He said, no. Jakub only told me to shit in his mouth, and when I finished, he grabbed my friend. After he grabbed my friend, I ran out. My friend was screaming very loudly. I asked him a second time, did he do anything to you? He said, no, just he made me shit in his mouth and he grabbed my friend and my friend was screaming a lot. I ran out, nothing else. So he raped his friend.
Ali's son was forced into degrading acts. His friend was raped. To this day, his father regrets ever taking his son to the center. He explains that poverty and lack of resources made it impossible for him to seek justice through the police. He felt powerless against the foreigner, certain that no one would listen. Witnesses describe how Jakub Jahl not only abused and neglected the children in his care, he also turned their supposed shelter into a base for a distribution of dangerous narcotics. Multiple witnesses describe how he bought and sold illegal substances, used his status as a white foreigner to gain trust, and involved local youth and gangsters in his operations. Below, we highlight key testimonies in chronological order. During his interview, Moses, a former volunteer, explained that Jahl's dealings went beyond using drugs himself. Instead, he actively financed and organized drug sales.
Yeah, Jakub also, he was dealing with, I can say that Jakub was having base to help kids also. He was like a gangster, he was dealing on the street. Sometimes he was supporting people to sell some drugs, things like what I show you, and weed, like what I show you, and I will show you the guy, you can see it, what he was doing. He was supporting all bad things on the street, sure. Yeah.
How he was supporting it?
Yeah, like give people money to go to buy that things and to sell in the community, sure, what he was doing, sure. He was doing also selling to people, because sometimes he was taking some guy, and because he's a white person, and he's a special, he's different with the other one, so people, they must trust him, because they know him, he know many things, yeah, sure, so that way he was carrying some guy, something was selling on the street, you know. Yeah, sure, what he was doing.
Later in the same interview, Moses made it clear which substances were involved.
Like a guy, weed, gut and weed, the things, and cocaine also, he was doing cocaine, he was smoking cocaine, I hope so, yeah, sure, he was doing that.
Another volunteer, Ramadan, confirmed that Jahl was involved in selling hard drugs and shared them with vulnerable people.
Yes, of course, Jakub, he did drugs, like cocaine, he sold cocaine, weed.
He sold?
Yeah, with his gang there in the street, and they use cocaine with some guys from this place in our street there. He's not coming in our country to help kids, no. That is false, because come here only to lies European, I think so.
When witnesses were asked about Jahl's finances, Ramadan noted that the money intended for children never reached them. Instead, he said Jahl squandered on vacations, alcohol, and nights out in clubs with gang members. Kibo, who initially befriended Jahl, observed how he used drugs to manipulate children and adolescents.
He was trying to take those kids like to the club, whatever, give them some drugs. So he used his money in different way. Give them some drugs, take them to the club. They are not, and those boys are starting to change as well, because they get like drugs, like marijuana, whatever, and he was a bad spender. So what he was saying before, he's coming for, but he's not does that again. So he was doing like a clubman, going to Zanzibar, Redstone, whatever. He has like a lot of kids around with him, try to give them like alcohol, drugs, or kind like that. And he was try to exchange those kids as well to being like a gay or whatever. Yes, so he was teach them the evil things.
This and other testimonies show that Jahl used the trust he gained as a foreign volunteer to build a small drug market around the orphanage. He financed drug purchases, sold weed and cocaine, and shared them with both adults and children.
Yeah, he was mixing some medical to the kids, maybe on food. He was doing something like that. But he was saying like it's treatment, just giving them, you know. Yeah, sure, what he was doing. Yeah, sure.
So,
Yeah, what he was doing. Yeah.
what kids felt after he gave them?
When they feed?
Oh, yes.
Only kid, it was like on midnight. He was give them on midnight, so they was going to sleep, only sleeping. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I haven't knew that the medicine was how it was working on kids. Yeah, sure. To the kids, so yeah, to the kids, yes, he was like need to sleep with a kid. Watch all what he was the one to do. He was like to sleep with a kid, which is not allowed in our country. Even when we register an orphanage, you know, a person who supports kids is not allowed to sleep with a kid. Because our culture also is not allowed that, you know?
I saw Jacob using syringes. Sometimes when he came here, he took us together into one room and injected the kids. He also smoked marijuana in front of us. After he injected them, the kids fell asleep. When Jakub was here, he was injecting himself with drugs. He smoked marijuana in front of the children so often that the little kids started copying his gestures. They would roll weed and pretend to smoke it like Jakub. We realized Jakub was bad when we saw him bringing different drugs and mixing them into the food. He tried to convince us they were vitamins, but it was very suspicious. Many children got sick after eating and vomited.
The first time I saw Jakub adding medicine to the food, I asked him, what kind of medicine is that? He said it was a vitamin to increase the children's nutrients. But in the end, he was giving the kids substances to mess with their minds so he could commit crimes. When they got used to these substances, he did bad things to them.
Kwa mara ya kwanza nilikuja kumuona Jacob akiwa anatumia bangi, akiwa anatumia madawa pia mbele za watoto.
So he doesn't try to shut them. They try to tell, oh, this is good things, try, you know, kind like that. So not those big boys, they need it, no. We try to show them this is good things, you can use it, good, whatever, this and this, that is what he does. So he shares things with them. He shares things with them.
At the so-called new shelter, people also noticed strange things. Witnesses say Jakub often gave the children different kinds of pills. Sometimes he told them the drugs were medicine. Sometimes he said it's a treatment for the children. But the substances made the children weak and drowsy. These additional testimonies show a consistent pattern. Jakub Jahl did not simply neglect or abuse the children physically, he drugged them. Witnesses recall him injecting boys with syringes, mixing sedatives into food, handing out marijuana and other narcotics. Local leaders later explained that Jakub openly drank alcohol and smoked marijuana in front of the children. They said the living conditions were poor and that he often kept company with gangsters. Concerned volunteers reported this to the authorities, who formed a committee and tried to hand the case to the police. But before they could act, Jakub fled.
In this committee, we discussed the situation in which the children are and realized that the children should not be there. It is bad for them and they have no help. So first, we reported that the children's living conditions were bad. We also talked about Jakub's behavior, that he is gay and that he harasses children. He simply destroys children, that is, he drinks alcohol and smokes marijuana in front of them. We also talked about how he's constantly in the company of gangsters. We talked about all this and especially about the children, that they should not be in this center anymore.
Jakub was smoking cigarettes while sitting around the children. He was touching the young children like this. He was influencing them and ultimately subjecting them to this kind of abuse. This matter was decided that this man is not suitable for us. And after it was seen that the man was to be prosecuted, or was being prosecuted, he decided to run away and abandon that center, leaving behind those children, including the disabled and others with various needs, and families without means.
Hilo jambo lilifanyika la kwamba huyu bwana hatufai. Na baada ya kuonekana bwana anataka kushtakiwa au anashtakiwa, aliamua kukimbia na kukiacha kile kituo na kuacha wale watoto wakiwepo walemavu na wengine wenye uhitaji mbalimbali kwenye familia zisizokuwa na uwezo.
And that day he starting to run. He going to the hotel, and the day when he ran with all money for the kids. So it's that day we starting to find him, and we been up to the police station. The end of time we come to hear he going to hide in the one of the hotel, you know. So when we been there in midnight, we're going to look after him. We saw only he leave some sleeper over there, and then he ran to the airport. So when we're asking the people who work in the hotel, they told us he gone like 30 minutes ago. He gone to the airport, you know. So that day we miss him, but even police they were seeking him. Yeah.
Behind the facade of charity, Jakub Jahl cultivated an aura of mysticism. Former volunteer Moses Mushi recalls being lured into late-night rituals. In his interview, he explains how Jakub boasted of powerful allies and occult creed. Moses says the ritual was presented as a secret protective ceremony, but it felt like a part of a dark cult. He later realized Jakub used these night excursions to isolate and manipulate volunteers, convincing them he had supernatural powers. He boasted about the Satan Nova, performed secret rituals at sacred trees, and fostered an atmosphere of fear reminiscent of a cult. By framing himself as both savior and sorcerer, he kept volunteers and children in his power.
Yeah, sure. He was telling I have power, and also sometimes he was showing me like he believed on Satan. And he was showing me some of the pictures that he have big people who look after him, you know, and people supporting him. So that way he was doing that, yeah, sure, yeah. He does it's something which is called Satanova. We try to show, yeah, and you can see some pictures here there inside, yeah, where he was showing me, yeah. And he was like a tree. He was like take me to be there inside. Sometime he was taking me midnight. We was walking up to nearby here to have like a baobab tree. He was taking some drums. We was going, we play some drums, and he was singing. I don't know why he was singing. He was singing, and they just play some drums, walking up to the baobab tree. When we been there with the baobab tree, we tried to around the baobab tree, and then he sent some words over there on the baobab tree, and they just will be back midnight. That why he was doing that, yeah, sure.
Jakub's practice of labeling African traditions as witchcraft while performing his own occult rituals fits a well-documented pattern, accusing others of cultism to justify control. Jakub Jahl did not hide his anti-cult obsessions. Before arriving to Tanzania, he portrayed himself online as a cult expert, posting videos and blogs in which he denounced religious groups and branded African traditions as witchcraft. He boasted of writing books and articles, gave interviews to Czech television, and insisted he was saving children from dangerous sects. Jakub Jahl's language and methods mirror patterns seen in international anti-cult networks. He claimed to be rescuing children from a cult and portrayed himself as an expert on spiritual abuse, just like other cult fighters. Yet, by moving children into an unregistered orphanage, sedating them to rape, and organizing late-night rituals, he violated their dignity and their freedom. These acts echo broader anti-cult abuses that misuse childcare institutions and philanthropic rhetoric to commit crimes. This public persona mirrors the rhetoric of a wider anti-cult movement founded and led by a Russian ideologue Alexander Dworkin. Dworkin studied in the United States and returned to Russia in 1992, bringing with him pseudoscientific concepts like brainwashing and mind control. He founded the St. Irenaeus of Leon Information Consultation Center and coined the term totalitarian sect, describing new religious movement as authoritarian organizations run by leaders he compared to Hitler and Lenin. Dworkin's rhetoric claims the right to define religious truths and justifies deprogramming, coercive programs that force people to renounce their faith. The Russian government embraced this rhetoric. In 1997, it passed a restrictive law on religious associations and later created a council of experts that Dworkin chairs. In 2009, he was also appointed vice president of FERSIS, a French anti-cult organization, giving him pan-European influence. At the IRF Builders Forum in Washington in May 2025, international experts warned that transnational anti-cult networks orchestrated from Moscow posed threats to democracy and freedom of religion. They noted that these structures operate under pseudo-expert rhetoric and are coordinated by Alexander Dworkin, leader of the Russian Association of Religious Studies Centers, RATSIRS. Forum participants identified anti-cult activism as a hybrid warfare tool used by Russian security services. They highlighted the case of Irina Kreminovska, a Ukrainian anti-cult figure whom they described as a Kremlin agent working directly for Dworkin. The forum applauded the opening of a criminal case against the Kremlin agent Kreminovska in Ukraine and called for international investigations, sanctions, and criminal proceedings against members of the global anti-cult network. These warnings resonate with Jakub Jahl's trajectory. Like Dworkin, he presented himself as a savior of cult victims while committing abuses. He cites Kreminovska and other anti-cult activists, such as Oleksiy Svetogor, a Ukrainian dog hunter known for violent campaigns against stray animals and accused of extremism and pedophilia. The mention of dog hunting is not a coincidence. According to reports, this is frequent practice among anti-cult activists. Witnesses also mention Jakub in this context.
Also, he gives sometimes he gives dogs food, and I had one of my friends tell he give poison to the dogs.
In Mexico, Jorge Ederle Graham, another anti-cult activist, has been accused by human rights groups. He created a facade of a protector of the faithful and kids abused by cults. But in fact, he created his own cult as a cover to run a network of child trafficking, literally selling kids for sex and even organs. Across the globe, some anti-cult groups have been accused of misusing child shelters, exploiting vulnerable people, sexual abuse, and even human trafficking. Researchers note a recurring pattern. Under the rhetoric of protecting society, these activists label minority religions and even civic organizations as dangerous cults, then seek donations and control over adherents. In practice, however, their stated activities often serve as a cover. Survivors report that under the pretext of rescue, anti-cult activists engaged in practices such as forced rehabilitation camps, dog hunts, sexual abuse, including pedophilia, and child trafficking. These abuses violate fundamental human rights. Although details vary, these cases reveal a pattern. Anti-cult leaders use charity or rehabilitation projects as cover, vilify minority religions to attract donations, then exploit or abuse those under their care. Allegations include sexual abuse of children, dog hunting, trafficking, and repression of religious freedoms. Even their facade activity and the way they protect society blatantly violate fundamental human rights. Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights affirms that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, including the freedom to change belief and to manifest it alone or in a community. When anti-cult activists label traditional or minority faiths as sects and subject believers to forced deprogramming, they breach Article 18 and related protections such as freedom of expression and association. Jakub Jahl's story is not an isolated aberration, but a part of a disturbing global trend in which self-proclaimed anti-cult experts perpetrate abuse while proclaiming moral superiority. The pattern suggests not random, isolated crimes, but an international structure whose playbook enables offenders to act with near impunity, not only in Tanzania, but also in the United States, Europe, and Latin America. When the truth about Jakub's abuse began to emerge, the natural question is, why didn't the victims go to the police? Why did no one stop the abuser before he destroyed 2 shelters and vanished? The answer lies in fear, poverty, and distrust. In this segment of the film, we give the floor to those who explain how a kind volunteer silenced them and how the system itself deprived them of hope for justice.
For sure, by that time, I was didn't have any authority about the center because the chairman was Ramadan. I was trying to talk with Ramadan because first of all, even me too and Ramadan, we was complaining to each other because of Jakub. So all the authority was on Ramadan's head. But what I was trying to do is just to around the community and tell the community that one is not a good guy. Yes, for my side, I'm doing that one because if maybe I was trying to go to police, that means that's Ramadan. I think that's by that time Ramadan he was not ready to give me just a help to confirm to the police. So the only thing which I was deciding is just to talk to the people who are understanding me that guy is doing this and this and this. Yes, and actually I can say also for us in Tanzania, maybe people we are scared about the police. We are scared about the court. We think that we are going to lose them, maybe to lose the time. And we're scared about the white people that, oh, this one, they have a lot of money, he can put a lawyer, wherever. So we just push it, something like that.
This man, he looks like powerful because he used his money he used a lot of money in evil things, but still he has the money, and he was trying to tell the people that I got richest donors in my country, so be careful with me. Don't try me. If you tried me, I wanna kill you or I will put you to the jail forever.
In another part of the interview, he is asked directly why no one went to the police. He answers.
At the beginning, people was tried to scare him because he looks like he's very rich or whatever. So in Tanzania, if you have a lot of money, people they scare you because they know if you are poor, you don't have right. Mostly people, they know that if you are poor, you don't have a right. So even someone can try to slap you, and he can slap you and call the police to take you to the police. But he's the one who does bad things to you, but still he put you in the jail again.
Father Ali, whose son's traumatic experience with Jakub in the shelter was previously shared in the film, now explains the complex reasons that prevented him from reporting to the police. His story reveals how poverty and the daily fight for survival can force victims into silence.
My resources are limited. I knew that if I went to the police, I wouldn't have the time. Every day I'm out trying to get food and take care of my children. When my son told me he was safe, I decided to live with that. I thought, I have a very low income, how could I handle this? It would take a lot of time, and I know how police procedures work.
Nampeleka mtoto labda sehemu kupata msaada na ule mzungu yule Jacob alikuja kwa ajili ya kuwasaidia na akasema anawasaidia.
I felt I couldn't win against a white man, so I had to keep going, believing my child was safe.
Ni bora ningebaki tu na mtoto wangu nyumbani.
His fears are not about personal cowardice. They are the fears of a poor man who cannot afford to fight the system. He preferred to remain silent rather than leave his children hungry. Violet, a teenager whom Jakub raped, kept silent for a long time. She explains she didn't go to the police because she had no one beside her.
No, I didn't go. I felt it was better to leave everything to God and focus on moving forward with my life. I also know that to go to the police you need a written warrant, what we call Arabi, and you have to pay money for it, which I couldn't afford. So I decided not to go and left it to God.
At another moment, she says she would be ready to go to the police if she had support.
I'm ready to go to the police now, especially if I can get support from others. Before, I didn't have anyone to help me, but now I do. I will go to the police because he did very bad things. He raped and sodomized me. I'm ready to report what was done to me and file a complaint.
Nafikiri labda baada ya Jacob kuwa
I think maybe after Jakub had done those acts, he was confident because he walked around with a knife.
Kwa sababu alikuwa anatembea na kisu,
He intimidated people, threatening to hurt them if they went to the police.
watu kwamba utaenda polisi, na aliamini kwamba hamna mtu yoyote wa kumfanya
He believed no one could do anything to him because he had power, influence, and money.
Yuko na pesa. Kwa hiyo baada ya kuwa amefanya hiko kitendo,
So after he did that, he opened the door.
Alifungua mlango.
He opened it after he raped Violet because he was sure nothing would happen to him.
Na akiamini kwamba hakuna kitu chochote kitatokea.
Violet's story shows that to go to the police, you need not only desire, but also community support and money. Without that, many victims close up. While preparing this film, we tried to speak with the local police who were supposed to handle this case, and with the social welfare office in Moshi, the very office that is fully informed about Jakub's case, having prepared the official report in a format recognized by law enforcement as credible. We did not request any information that would compromise personal data or privacy, though everyone in Moshi seems to know Violet's story and what Jakub did to other children. Despite all our efforts, neither the police nor the social services in Tanzania provided us with an official comment. And I'm afraid I understand why. Isn't it their fault that little Violet was left unprotected? According to testimonies, she was raped by Jakub, and afterward he continued to walk freely around Tanzania. This did not seem to bother anyone, including the social services themselves. Moreover, it appears that some Tanzanian officials continue to shield Jakub Jahl. Instead of cooperating with journalists who came to make a documentary aimed at protecting Tanzanian children, local authorities and officials began threatening and trying to intimidate us and witnesses. Witnesses told us officers were afraid to intervene, fearing they'd lose their jobs or spoil the investment climate. We heard the thought repeatedly. It is important to ask a broader question. If local police in Tanzania are frightened and corruption renders them powerless, why are the Czech police silent? What are officials in Prague afraid of? Why is a man who committed serious crimes against the children still at large? These questions demand international attention.
After she helped me, I didn't go back to school because Jakub had already ruined everything there. So I decided to take care of myself. So I worked for different people and earned money. At that time, I had already left everything to God. God is always going before us in righteousness. I decided to keep fighting, to work and earn money so I could take care of myself. I focused on getting a job and providing my own food and everything I needed. Because I don't have a mother anymore. She has passed away and is with God. I used to depend on my mom, but now I rely on myself. I have to eat, dress, and do everything on my own.
After that night, I didn't see Violet. I didn't see her the first day, and I didn't see her the second day either. She was nowhere to be found for a while.
Kwa siku ya kwanza sikumwona Violet, siku ya pili sikumwona Violet.
But around the third day, a neighbor told me she'd seen Violet. She said Violet was covered in blood, that she was crying, and that she had been raped.
Baada kama ya siku ya tatu, kuna jirani
I was in deep shock. Violet had run away to live on the streets.
Violet alikimbia pale akiwa anatoka na damu, akiwa
After quite a long time, I saw Violet myself. She was walking around the streets with nowhere to go.
Akaniambia kwamba Violet alikuwa amebakwa. Kwa hiyo nikashangaa sana. Hali yake Violet,
when I saw her, she was in a bad way. First, her health. She was exhausted, and her clothes were dirty. She said to me, "Brother, Jakub did something very bad to me. He raped me," and her face was full of sorrow.
alikuwa na sura ya huzuni na kulia.
She was crying, suffering, and living on the street.
Anateseka pia mtaani.
She was extremely sad and very tired. She'd grown thin.
Nzuri kabisa. Yani ilikuwa
her clothes were dirty and Violet was not okay at all mentally.
Alikuwa amekonda, yani alikuwa ana nguo chafu, yani
it seemed to me she was already broken.
Hata kiakili pia naona alikuwa Violet.
After I asked her, Violet, what exactly happened that day? Why did you run away? I heard a lot of noise. She told me everything. She said that Jakub, or as we also call him, Mongu, is a very bad person. He promised to take her to school, but instead he came and raped her. Jakub subjected her to violence and other horrific things. Because of him, she's still living on the street, and it's been very hard for her.
Despite multiple reports and eyewitness testimonies, Jakub Jahl has never faced prosecution for the grave abuses he is accused of. Local leaders and volunteers did everything they could. They reported him to their superiors, confronted him, and even went to the police station. But nothing stopped him from fleeing. The unresolved accusations and silence from officials form a chilling part of the story. According to witnesses, Jahl proudly proclaimed his protected status, insisting that nobody could harm him. They described how he regularly bribed police and political officials to ensure his immunity, and always managed to be released after detentions. Former volunteer Moses recounts how he and his brother went to the police after Jahl ran away with the children's money. They found only his slippers. He had already escaped to the airport. Moses explains why no one intervened.
Jakub was having he was like a good politician, you know, and he was having like a people who support him, big politician in Czech Republic, to send to him some money. That way he was doing what she liking here in Tanzania, yeah, relaxing, do whatever he need, yeah, sure. So no one who was no one who can stop him, because it's having big people who support him back, yeah, sure. What he was doing, yeah.
Did he say that? Did he?
Yeah, he told me that several times, and he told me one day he was in Czech Republic. He was working with some leaders, and he was killing some of the people in Czech Republic. Yeah.
Yes, most of people here in Tanzania worried too much and afraid of Jakub Jahl, because Jakub Jahl was bragging that he had protection and nobody could do anything to him. And he was open, say that he was raising money through the Czech Republic pirate part to buy the politician, and this made people to be very afraid, and they were open, and he were openly used it to the symbol of pirate part, and he did even to draw the pirate bat symbol at Nature and Skills Center. So when the people saw these stuffs and the way he was proudly talking about this thing, the people worried because they knew Jakub Jahl had very strong people from Czech Republic, and no one was able to interfere him. So in order everyone to be safe, they were like worried to be taken to police or something like that, because most of people who he met, and he were very tricky that he met with very poor people, so they worried to interfere with him because they will never fight with him. Have very strong people, economically people who can push him ahead in whatever he wants to practice. Yes.
The community leader Ndama Masule, mayor of the 5 wards, confirms hearing rumors about Jahl's political connections. During his interview, he was asked whether Jakub ever mentioned influential friends in Europe who protect him. Ndama responded,
I heard that Jakub has very influential political contacts who fund him. Another, I heard that he collected money from someone supposedly to help children in Tanzania. But here, he was using that money for sexual activities and to lure children.
katika hali ya kimapenzi
and to facilitate the use of narcotic drugs.
Kurubuni watoto au kuifanyia hali ya madawa ya kulevya.
I also heard that Jakub is involved in trafficking.
Jakobo anasafirisha.
Neighbor Modest Sylvester explains how Jahl used bribery and boasted about his backers. He recounts that he offered money to silence anyone who discovered his crimes and claimed support from a political party in Europe.
Jakub had unusual habits, and he showed me signs associated with devil worship, saying that he himself was the devil. He tried to draw me into his devilish world. He told the children of me that if we agreed to his evil, devilish deeds, it would benefit us because he had friends in Europe and influential politicians who could help us. At the same time, he tried to make me change my religion. He wanted to force me to adopt some strange beliefs.
Maswala yake maovu na mabaya
devil worship.
Atakuwa anatusaidia kwa sababu yeye ana marafiki Ulaya.
Jakub had very bad demonic tendencies.
Watu ambao wana nguvu.
Jakub said that he was supported by a party called the Pirate Party from the Czech Republic.
Akawa ana shawishi kuhama hadi dini yangu niweze kuwa.
He said that they buy politicians and religious leaders for their devilish deeds. Jakub said he was a member of this party and was pushing their agenda here. And that the party gave him a lot of money to promote their bad programs.
Alafu kama kwenye bendera anasema iko chama cha pirate kinanunua watu kama wanasiasa.
He said this party, which is based in the Czech Republic,
masuala yao ya kishetani na kwamba alikuwa
supports him and empowers him.
Sema kwamba iko chama analeta sera zao huku, kwamba iko chama kimempa hela nyingi sana waweze kuleta sera zao ambazo.
According to him, they have money and power. Jakub said it's a party that does devilish things.
Tabia za ushoga, wanaume kwa wanaume, wanawake kwa wanawake, kulala. Kwa hiyo ile ilikuwa ni mbaya sana kwa sababu alikuwa anajiproud au anajisifia kwa vitu ambavyo sio. Kwa hiyo akawa anasema yeye anasapotiwa na anapewa nguvu na chama cha pirate ambacho kiko Slovakia ambako iko chama. Akasema wana pesa na wana nguvu, lakini ni chama ambacho kinafanya mambo ya kishetani.
Together, these testimonies expose a consistent theme. Jakub Jahl portrayed himself as untouchable because of his rich donors and political connections both in Tanzania and Czech Republic. He told volunteers and children that powerful friends in Europe and the big man in government would shield him from consequences. He claimed support from a Czech pirate party that allegedly buys politicians, and he boasted of influential contacts who sent money but never questioned how it was used. These boasts intimidated locals, discouraged them from reporting crimes, and allowed his abuse to continue unchecked. These testimonies suggest that Jahl's perceived protection, whether real or exaggerated, made local authorities hesitant. Jahl's claims that he has some serious patrons might not be mere bragging, because even the most serious accusations against Jahl have not led to his arrest, either in Africa or in Europe. Ndama Masule acknowledges that the case was reported to the police, but Jahl fled and no prosecution followed. Our formal letters to the embassies underscore the lack of response from Tanzanian and Czech officials. In preparation for the film, we submitted an official request to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic to clarify the department's position on this matter. We received the following response. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has no information regarding the matter other than what is available from open sources. Neither the MFA nor the locally competent embassy in Nairobi has been contacted by the Tanzanian authorities in this regard, and therefore the MFA cannot provide any further comment on this matter. This response shows that the Czech authorities are aware of the information available in the public domain about Jahl, as they note, other than what is available from the open source. They claim they cannot act because there is no formal request from the Tanzanian authorities. An explanation that appears more like an excuse than a justification. According to Czech law, law enforcement agencies have a legal obligation to initiate an investigation into the facts presented in the investigation of Jakub Jahl, regardless of the existence of an official request from Tanzania. Saying they can't act because there is no request goes against the rule of law in Czech criminal proceedings, which requires them to pursue all known crimes. It also violates the Czech Republic's international obligations, particularly the Lanzarote Convention, which states that member countries cannot avoid prosecuting their citizens for sexual crimes against children just because they don't have a request from another country. Now we know for certain the Czech authorities were obliged to respond to Jakub Jahl's actions, even based on information available in the public domain. Today there is a large amount of such information, including nearly 100 video testimonies from witnesses. Hundreds of people have come forward alleging that he committed acts of violence against children. Despite this, Jakub Jahl continues to freely live in the Czech Republic in close proximity to local children, and the authorities have openly told our journalistic team that they are aware of the information. Yet they will not take action until a formal request comes from Tanzanian authorities. But they did not act. Why? Let me remind you, witnesses in Tanzania have repeatedly heard Jahl claim that he is raising money and buying off Czech politicians in power through the Pirate Party. Maybe this is why, despite his actions, he remains unpunished in the Czech Republic. Perhaps he really has the secret protection of these politicians. This leads to another important question. How many politicians and at what level could have been involved with Jakub Jahl in the Czech Republic if even the most serious accusations made in Tanzania, accusations that could lead to a life sentence, according to a lawyer, didn't prompt any attempt to stop someone who eyewitnesses say has been raping children after drugging them?
Punishment, the sentence normally for rape, it starts from 30 years.
From 30 years?
Yeah, 30 years imprisonment. That's the minimum sentence. But if it is concerning a child and unnatural offenses, it could go up to life imprisonment. But the minimum is 30 years. The least that you could get is 30 years.
And this pain, as I feel, I can say that maybe I know that you European will get a lot of money. Nothing we can do maybe to you because you are really enough developed. You have a good life. You can take care for your kids. All these kids, they are here. Their parents, they are not around. But in African culture, we trust each other. I mean that my kid can be around here because madam is there and I'll meet my kids safe. But for you, it's very easy because you have a lot of money to pay for the house girl and what. If you look forward for your color and how rich you are, you will make Jakub to expand more and more. Right now he's starting to touch us because we are poor. But later on, he will be more big and more profit, more rich. He will never end over there. He'll go to touch you.
The methods that Jahl and other Czech anti-cultists reportedly used remind us of the scheme by Alexander Dworkin in Russia, where cult fighters are said to consolidate their power by bribing politicians, influencing prosecutors, including general prosecutions in different countries. or placing their people in key positions. As a result, the control they gain over politics and the courts allow them to avoid consequences for accusations of sadism and pedophilia. This scheme, developed in Russia, is exported through so-called cult fighters to other countries via their people. For example, the already well-known to you Kriminovskaya and Svitogor in Ukraine. According to sources, they also manipulate politicians, create fake expert assessments, destroy democracy, and seek to replace legitimate institutions. Reports suggest that Jahl wanted to replicate the same in the Czech Republic. According to available information, this network has operated without punishment for 30 years. These questions demand answers, especially now when children are disappearing in the various countries. As a journalist, I'm used to seeing a lot, but Violet's story has been a personal shock to me. This girl wanted to get an education and help others. Instead, according to reports, she was brutally raped, stabbed, and left without protection or means to support herself. She needs help, including psychological support. Today she is 17, living on the streets and working as a dishwasher in a local restaurant. Her physical and psychological scars remind her daily of a night Jakub Jahl betrayed her trust. She sleeps wherever she can and earns barely enough money for food, yet she remains resilient. Jahl's crimes did not end with her. Witnesses claim that Jahl raped a large number of Tanzanian children. The Nature and Skills Center lies in ruins, and the children he once promised to help are scattered. Local leaders like Ndama Masule and Wema Mzava documented his misdeeds, but their pleas to law enforcement went unresolved. In keeping with the journalistic right of reply, the documentary crew attempted to contact Jakub Jahl, but these attempts remained unfruitful. Meanwhile, Jahl rebuilt his public persona. In 2024, despite allegations of pedophilia and abuse, he appeared on television, including major outlets like CNN, as an expert on cults and continued his anti-cult activism. On top of everything else, Jakub Jahl is studying in Charles University in Prague to become a teacher. Just a few months ago, the independent documentary The Victims of Jakub Jahl in Africa premiered, compiling testimonies from survivors and witnesses. Articles such as Africa Feature Network or New York Daily Post summarized the film's findings and called for accountability, noting that Jahl's project lasted about 2 years and left a wake of trauma. Yet, authorities in Tanzania and the Czech Republic have still not taken any decisive action. Normally, if a person commits a crime in one country, they remain a criminal in another. But here we see a different picture. A question arises that cannot be pushed aside. How can a person accused by numerous witnesses of pedophilia, violence, and sadism walk freely on the streets of Europe? Today we understand that Violet's story is a part of a recurring international scheme. Violet's tragedy symbolizes a global threat. Since the anti-cult network operates worldwide, what happened in Tanzania could happen to any child in any country tomorrow. I believe this film is not just about Violet and other children affected in Tanzania. It is about thousands of children whose names we don't know, about those who have disappeared without a trace, whom society has failed to protect, about those who will never get a chance to tell their story. Will the situation change? Now it depends on people with heart and conscience, people who understand that the word justice means. We call on politicians, international organizations, journalists, and human rights advocates to take action, to protect children, uncover the facts, and stop the evil that operates with impunity. Watch this film, spread the word, and allow these voices to be heard. Everyone can be a part of the change.